We are awakening together. This is our weekly gathering we hold online. For more information, visit our website, awakening-together.org. We'd love to see you there.
Thank you, Marisol. Let me get back my gallery because I want to see everybody. Good morning. Gosh, it's so wonderful to see everyone's faces today. How beautiful. And I'm so excited and grateful to be here with you all and want to get our gathering started by asking Marisol to play the song We Are Awakening by David Pramal and Mitten. And while she plays it, will you please greet each other in the chat? Thank you, Marisol. That song is just so perfect, isn't it? Every time it just opens my heart. So I want to begin our gathering today by reading our statement of purpose of Awakening Together. We are an assembly of equals joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self. Within an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols, we seek to discern one truth and to rest in its embrace. Excuse me. And the core value that I would like to speak to today is our third core value. We accept one true self, which is one presence or being, non-dual, without beginning or end, and absolutely changeless. We live this value by practicing letting go of the belief in the individual self as who we are. And thank you. And next, I would like to have our announcements. So I am going to give the mic over to Joe to read the first announcement, please, Joe. Thank you, everyone, for reading the announcements. How amazing is it that we have so much programming here at Awakening Together and so many ways to go along our path as we're guided for the one message of truth. And that's just incredible. Thank you. Thank you. God is good. Okay, so I want to share a song with you. It's kind of funny, but it's also very serious. And what I keep being reminded of is that I need to, if I want to know truth, then I need to stay in the space of the heart. And the mind cannot possibly know anything any answer at all to the questions I'm asking. So I want to ask Marisol to play our first song, and the title is Follow Your Heart, Your Brain is Stupid. So I just thought it was a perfect way to start. Will you please play it, Marisol? Thank you. And thanks, Marisol, for ending it when I asked. It goes on for a little while, but didn't say anything else, just went on. So thanks for sharing with me in that little bit of fun, but serious message. Holy Spirit, I'm so very grateful for this day, for this gathering of like-minded brothers and sisters who are myself in this assembly, in this Sangha. Bless this morning with the awareness of this common purpose. Bring us clarity as we together awaken to the one true self. Be with us so that only your words are spoken and heard. Make of me an instrument of your peace, and let me speak only what you've instructed, that you are instructing me to say. Let us all lead with our hearts. where your sacred knowledge is there for us anytime. Thank you for letting me be here. Thank you for providing this incredible church assembly that provides everything I need, that's provided deliverance for me. And just so very grateful to be here. Amen. Ah. Well, next, I've selected a few readings, and my dear friend Melanie Sloan has so graciously agreed to read those for me. Melanie, if you can please go ahead and begin the readings.
Okay, welcome everybody. The first reading is from NTI 1 Corinthians chapter 8. It's on page 296 if you want to read along. When you do not seem to know how to become an empty shell, it is because you are focusing on your head, or better said, your thinking mind. Your thinking mind will not teach you how not to think. Your thinking mind is interested in its own survival, so it will take the time you give it to think some more. When you notice your mind is full and you want to become as an empty shell, you must refocus your mind from your head to your heart. Your heart will teach your mind the way of release, because your heart is love. Your heart, being of love, knows one purpose, and that is love. Your head, being of thinking, knows many purposes, because that is thinking. Let go of the confusion of the head and focus yourself on the purpose of the heart. Focusing on one purpose leads you clearly in one direction, but focusing on many purposes does not lead you at all. Your mind is willing for distractions because your mind is split. This is why you must focus your mind on the heart and the leadership that is found there. When your mind is focused on the head, it revels in its own distractions, and it spins within the joy of its own pain. When your mind is focused on the heart, it recalls its true joy. And in the willingness given through this memory, it lets go of the distractions of the head. In this way, the heart leads you to become an empty shell. In this way, you surrender the experience you do not want, and you welcome the one that you do. And the next reading is from NTI Luke, chapter 3. Your willingness is the calling within you. This willingness is within everyone, resting patiently within the heart, waiting for the day it is asked to sing its song. The song it sings is a calling, asking the one who hears its tune to follow it to a new way and a new day. John the Baptist is the symbol of this calling within all of us. Not yet fully the Christ, it is the voice within a split mind that calls it to return to one mind, which is the Christ. For Christ is free of illusions and released from distractions, singularly focused on the willingness that is the will of God. What distracts you from the singular thought of God? Distractions take many forms. They may seem to be positive or negative distractions. They may seem to be problems you face or pleasures you enjoy. But if they keep your thoughts away from the singular thought of God, they are distractions for you. Do not feel guilty about your distractions, for distractions cause no loss in the will of God. God's will is truth, and so it remains always true. Distractions can have no effect on it. Distractions only distract you from what is true, so that your focus is on distractions, which distract you from the awareness of truth. But then the awakened willingness within comes, and it calls you to turn away from distractions. It calls you to return your mind fully to the awareness of truth. In this calling, your distractions can serve the purpose of truth. For all things given to your willingness will be used by your willingness to further awaken the call within you. This will continue until your distractions are no more, and you are fully awake to the singular thought of God without distraction of any kind. This is the purpose of John, the call within you that calls you to awaken. Follow the voice, listen to it. Do not let fear imprison this voice within you. It is as written in the book of the words of Isaiah the prophet, a voice of one calling in the desert. Prepare the way for the Lord, make straight paths for him. Every valley shall be filled in, every mountain and hill made low. The crooked roads shall become straight, the rough ways smooth, and all mankind will see God's salvation. And the last reading is from the teachings of Inner Ramana. And the title is The Love of Discipline. Today, I will talk about discipline. Discipline is a dirty word to the mind. It screams lack of freedom, control, and extends ideas of being forced to do things you do not really want to do. But I ask you to look at the idea of discipline again and ask, who is the I that has these ideas? Who is the I that feels beaten down by the idea of discipline? Right now, it is as if two I's live within you. It is time we begin to look at these two I's now. One I is the false thought, the false idea of who you are. The other I is best described now as your true heart. One reason for learning the difference between these two I's is so you can learn to distinguish the difference between the I that speaks for what you want and the I that sounds like you, but in truth is an imposter. Let's look again at the idea of discipline. I have told you that discipline means consistency. You know that you want the consistent experience of God without end and without distraction. And you also know that consistent practice brings this experience. So you see, you love it. You are grateful for it. You want with your whole heart to embrace it. It is the false I that wants to throw this idea away. It is the false I that resists and tells you that you hate discipline. This is why it is helpful to question the false I, to question the false I thought that poses as you. This thought is literally an obstacle to the experience of self. This false identification is everything that stands in the way of you knowing you. And if you continue to listen to it and continue to believe it as if its statements are your thoughts, then you continue to miss out on the experience of your truth. The I thought must be questioned, and it must be seen that this thought is not you. Let's talk about the love of discipline. Discipline is like a roadway lined with beautiful flowers and trees and green pastures to a destination that is literally more beautiful than your imagination. Who wouldn't want to make this road? Who wouldn't want to take this road? And as they travel, embrace every moment of the beautiful and amazing journey. This is discipline. It is consistently applying your devotion. It is lovingly loving your love. It is giving yourself exactly what you want. Questioning the I thought that disagrees with discipline is like checking the map to make sure you don't leave this lovely road for a dry and dusty and bumpy one that heads off into the desert away from the lusciousness of your love. Follow your heart is more than just a saying. When you hear your true heart calling, following your heart is literally following a beacon home, and it will lead you there straight away if you remember that the beacon and the true I are one.
Just lovely. Just perfect. Thank you so much, Melanie.
Thank you. Nice readings.
Oh, so here we are. So, what has been alive for me recently is, so you've probably heard this story before, but don't stop me because I'm on a roll. So I am retiring from my current position, or at least leaving the position. I don't know that I couldn't say I'm really retiring, but I'm leaving my current position that I've been working at for about 8 years at the end of the year, and made the decision to devote myself to awakening together in my own spiritual practice. And what I saw was that there were a lot of fear thoughts about how I'm going to be spending my time. And the thoughts were saying, I am going to just abandon the spiritual practice altogether. I'm going to become completely re-identified with the personality. I'm going to be looking for happiness in the world. I'll waste the rest of my life watching Netflix and trying to numb out. And that my lifelong habit as the proverbial procrastinator will be impossible for me to overcome. So I felt like that was surely my destiny. And I had to really take a look at that because I knew that was not right, but there was something here believing that, you know. So, so the first response was, so mine had a really good answer. Well, we'll just fill up your calendar with all kinds of things and you won't have a chance to do that. We'll just plan every moment of your day. We'll build a new morning routine that lasts well into lunchtime. And then we'll just give you things to do all day long and every evening. And then you won't have to worry about that, which, I mean, in the world, that makes sense, right? But we're not talking about anything in the world. We're not talking about anything linear, right? So that felt really contracted, urgent, and panicky, that response did. So I knew that that was not the correct answer, right? And no, try again. So I just kind of stepped back from that and asked, well, who's saying that, right? Like, who's telling me that? And it was pretty clear that there was something here that believed that by planning and routine, that there would be some kind of protection and comfort, that somehow micro planning was going to make sure that I have a good life moving forward. But there was also something here that said that's really unnatural. That's really kind of silly, really, to do that. So I started thinking about discipline, which has terrified me my whole life. So this mind says you are not self-disciplined. You don't know how to do that. You're not able to do that. And I was taught several years ago that this discipline is how we are nurtured. It's how we are grown. And what stands out to me is that I need to think enough of myself to believe that I'm worthy of nurturing. Like, avoiding discipline for me, I can see, was a belief in unworthiness, if that makes any sense. So I work in a mental health center, and here's a lesson that I've learned. I see a lot of practitioners there, clinicians, tell people you need to practice good self-care. To people who are quite believing they are very bad, nothing, not worthy of love, not lovable. And so it's pretty hard to love yourself when you think you're not lovable, right? That's just really not possible. And I love the inner Ramana describes discipline as lovingly loving your love. But if you think you're unlovable, how do you do that, right? And so I just could see that now in my life, I do not very often encounter that belief. I do not encounter the belief that I am bad very frequently. Like, that's just not my experience. Whereas earlier in my life, it was my moment by moment experience. There was a time when I just knew that I was the worst possible person in the world, right? So as I saw that I had made some very dramatic shifts in the way that I perceive the world and who I am and my purpose here, that certainly discipline is also a different meaning. And so I went to inner wisdom. Of course, this whole time I've been with inner wisdom, but I was asked to kind of look at, well, how far have you come? Like, what's changed, you know? And so I saw that I was really avoiding looking at progress with some kind of false humility. Like, I don't know, it's just that weird thing that the ego does with, I don't want to congratulate myself too much, right? So I wasn't really looking at that and taking that into account. So I came up with a long list, which I won't read you for the next hour about it, but I had a lot of contemplation about that. And a few of the high points were, I'm far more present now than I ever have been in my whole life. I have gratitude that I can't even hold. I have overwhelming gratitude, much of it, not all the time, much of the time. I notice awareness. I notice my thoughts. I'm willing to look at my thoughts and question them, which is new in the last year or so. I am willing. I have great willingness. I'm spending more time in practice. I'm volunteering to do things. I'm committing to things. So that's huge for me because it used to be terrifying to me, you know. I'm noticing the reflexive no that the mind wants to do, the conditioning wants to do. And I'm learning to love it, to welcome it, to allow it, to let it play out and not believe it, right? I'm releasing attachments, aversions, resentments, judgments. I don't take things personally very often. Every once in a while, that one sneaks up on me. I notice far less identification with the personality. I'm noticing the big picture. My last homily was called the Rhythm of Grace. And it was about this kind of biphasic pattern that the path takes. It's just a thing. And noticing that sometimes I feel really peaceful and connected, and then not so much. And just seeing that as a natural part of the process and embracing whatever that is here to teach me. And it's about contrast, right? What is the cause and nature of suffering? Well, here I'll show you, right? So I wanted to just quote a couple of things. One is from A Course in Miracles. The Holy Spirit cannot teach without this contrast, for you believe that misery is happiness. You are steadfastly devoted to misery because, you who are steadfastly devoted to misery must first recognize that you are miserable and not happy. The Holy Spirit cannot teach without this contrast, for you believe that misery is happiness. And Angelo DeLula says, the key is to recognize that this is exactly how the process is supposed to go. Having an uncomfortable or distressing experience after having a direct taste of reality doesn't mean you aren't cut out for awakening or that you've made a mistake. It means that the process is working. And having this understanding has just been a huge boon and really kept me from stagnating in that self-judgment and frustration. So then Inner Wisdom asked me, well, what feels alive to you now? And that's where we have to live, right? That's the lesson. That's the curriculum. What feels alive? So what feels alive to me now is staying open to the future and doing so courageously. Like just having an open heart, wanting to be accepting of whatever comes, embracing the unknown, being willing not to know, embracing the present moment, and really seeing, this is something that kind of occurred to me in a contemplation. Well, if you can accept whatever comes in this moment, what makes you think you can't accept whatever comes in the next moment or a year from now? Like it's okay. You're okay, right? And the other thing that feels alive to me is exploring what it means to commit to a spiritual aspiration, no matter what. And I'm talking about the very core of what it means to be devoted. Dr. David R. Hawkins says, an aspect of devotional love is constancy, as well as loyalty and commitment no matter what. And to me, that sounds like what inner Ramana is calling discipline. Doing what is you are guided to do no matter what. So to me, discipline is looking much more like devotion now than it ever has. And there's no judgment behind that desire to explore what it means to live in this space of devotion. Like there's no buy-in from the ego about that. I don't feel like that's how what is alive to us now, like that's the thing that ego isn't involved in, right? That comes from back here. This comes from the heart. So we know that that's the direction we need to go. And I feel so alive with, excited about this desire to live a life of devotion and shift from all of this learning and collecting information to devotion. That books become a reminder, not a teaching, but a reminder of what's true, a little correction back onto the path. So then of course, the Lord does not leave you comfortless. I was given a whole list of tools. And so the first and foremost is the Sangha. It's right here. It's right here for us every day. Well, almost every day. It's here when we aren't able to get it together to remember what's true, how we get to feeling in our heart and not thinking with our minds. All these people are sitting here waiting to tell us about it. How amazing is that? So the Sangha, this was clearly the most important touchstone for me. And because sometimes I don't have the clarity. Sometimes I can't hear wisdom. But there are so many people who can hold that space for me, who can hear it for me. And they're all just sitting right here. So the purpose of the Sangha is a support system for spiritual living and spiritual practice. And this is from the Sangha is the New Guru retreat. This is where I've gotten this. So purpose of the Sangha is the support system for spiritual living and spiritual practice, allowing members to learn from one another and encourage one another as they progress towards enlightenment. And sometimes God shows up as Regina Dawn Akers. And sometimes God shows up as Rhoda and Shauna and Jan and Michelle. So the fact that all the members of the Sangha are committed to the same purpose is like a magnifying glass for wisdom, because there's the intention here. The purpose of Awakening Together is that we're an assembly of equals joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self. We are an assembly. We are a Sangha, right? That is our purpose. That is the reason it's here. And the requirements of a Sangha are true humility and surrender and trust, right? True humility is being able to accurately assess one's own current gaps in mastery. To me, that speaks to self-honesty. So that's something I'm going to have to really focus on, my self-honesty, really being honest with myself. David Hawkins says, each person is responsible at their own level of consciousness and not at some other hypothetical ideal. I need to be where I am and not pretend to be something else because I think I ought to be, or worried that people will perceive me as she's not spiritual enough, or whatever that mind tells me about that, right? I just need to be where I am. And then surrender and trust, to realize and follow spiritual intuition. To me, that's about self-compassion. And it is not helpful to judge myself. when I'm not present, when I'm distracted, as we read, as Melanie read this morning, because that just solidifies the belief in this person and my sin and my error or whatever is coming up. And Thich Nhat Hanh teaches when you have anger arise, which could be any of the things that come up around our conditioning, fear, judgment, treat it as a crying baby. You comfort the baby. You have compassion for the baby. You don't try to hide it or try to, manhandle it, to subdue it or repress it. You comfort the baby. You have compassion. And that's how we that's how we can treat our own fears that might arise. And then just being willing to not know. Not surrender. So here's what inner wisdom told me. You will remember to ask when you don't think you know. And that just keeps coming up for me. Yeah. I mean, if I think I know, and we're taught this so many ways. If I think I know, then I'm not going to find out. So that is the main tool that I was given by inner wisdom, is stick with the Sangha. Then contemplation, prayer, mindfulness, and meditation have been my tools every day for I don't know how long, right? They're still going to be there. When I retire, those tools will still be there. And my morning routine is I get up, first thing in this house is you feed the dog. So that is the first thing. And of course, while you're feeding the dog, you may as well make a cup of coffee. But after that, it's straight to my desk where I have my devotional materials, and there's a time of stillness and contemplation. And I've been doing that for I don't know how long. So why not just keep doing that, right? Accountability is very important for this one, right? I'm not going to do the assignment if I don't have to turn it in. That's just how it is sometimes. So being accountable, joining a group, agreeing to do something so that you're held to what you need to do, because what you're doing is for me. It's for me. It's not for someone else. Obedience came up. And I have to spend a little more time with that word because it still sticks a little bit. But Nisargadatta Maharaj talks so much about his obedience to his guru, right? And then I wanted to read something that came up this morning. Oh, where is that darn book? Oh, here it is. So I've started reading or using this book by Anthony DeMello. It's called Sadhana, A Way to God. And it is Christian exercises in Eastern form. And here's what he says. Essentially it's saying, put up with your boredom, resist the temptation to seek novelty, and instead seek depth. And he's talking about with contemplation and meditation. And he says, what is the benefit from the point of view of prayer, of doing it this way, of sticking with that boredom and repetitive stuff? Don't ask questions. Just do what you are asked to, and you will discover the answers for yourself. Truth is found less in words and explanations than in action and experience. So get to work with faith and perseverance. And before long, you will experience the answer to your questions. So sometimes you just need to trust that people who are wiser and more aware and leading our way down the path know what they're talking about, and just suck it up and do it and have faith that they know what the heck they're talking about. And I can ask questions till the cows come home, but really that's just avoidance of doing what I need to do. Like that is a perfect ego preservation strategy. I'll just keep asking questions so I don't have to do it, right? And then I remembered neuroplasticity, we can change our habits. So find the thing that feels alive, find where the motivation is, and build that habit. Not build this list of habits that the mind decided were important when it feels guided. Those habits we can build. Of course, more tools are prayer. I have the Resolving for Truth retreat coming up in January, which just kind of materialized for me. I didn't know why. I kept getting pointed to it, so I signed up for it, and now it's all making sense. I need an intention. I need to rework my spiritual aspiration that's going to fit me right now. So that's a gift that was just offered to me. And then there is self-inquiry, which is little s self-inquiry, big S self-inquiry. But then there's also games we can play for inquiry. There is this natural curiosity. Where's that pointing me? Follow it. That kind of occupies the mind and gives it something fun to do to avoid the boredom, but it's also doing this really important work. So, all of that is to say that I see that I've come a long way in my path. And that gives me far more confidence moving forward. Like, this stuff really works. And I think what I'm going to do is keep doing it. So that was the answer. Mainly, I need to trust. I need to trust that all is well and all is happening perfectly. All is happening perfectly with the greatest benevolence and compassion that is so limitless that I can't even imagine it. That is supporting the awakening of this one mind. That's there. That is real. Like that's the reality. Remembering that awakening happens in its own time, according to its own plan. It is not a linear path, and we cannot possibly know what it is. So my job is to listen, obey, look to guidance and follow it, surrender to the one who knows, remember the true desire of my heart. I truly do want the consistent experience of God without end and without distraction. And I am learning that consistent practice brings this experience. So I do indeed love discipline, and I see that I'm grateful for it. So here's my prayer. Mama's time. I am still. I listen. I obey, knowing it is all for my healing. This is what discipline means for me now. Always focused on the space of devotion within my heart. Amen. Oh. Okay, let me find where I am. I'm so sorry. Okay. I found it. Okay. Oh, thanks for coming on that journey with me. And I want to just call out that, Awakening Together operates primarily with our own donations of the membership. And so I would just ask you to look within your heart if you want to make a donation today. I don't see the QR code. It might be here, but I'm not seeing it. But Marisol did put a link in the chat. You can also go to our website, and there is a link to donate. And then I'm going to ask Marisol to play the last song. And while she's playing that, if you would want to reflect on your own insights, and hopefully we'll have we'll have a few minutes to share after the song. And the song is called Living in the Moment by Jason Mraz. Marisol, will you please play the song? Thank you, Marisol, for sharing that. And I just want to thank again Melanie, who did the readings today so beautifully. And so I'd like to just open it up. Anyone who feels to share, please do. Oh, Melanie?
Yeah, I was thinking that it was so perfect that you asked me to read this, because I never understood when people said, follow your heart. Because I just felt like I had no idea and I couldn't feel what it meant to follow your heart. And then when I read from the teachings of Inner Ramana, how Regina put it is, right now, as if the two eyes live within you. It is time we begin to look at these two eyes. One eye is the false thought, the false idea of who you are. So that's, now I'm getting, that's my thinking from my brain. The other eye is best described now as your true heart. So now I'm kind of getting it. The eye that talks to me and it doesn't really feel right what it's saying is the thinking mind, but the I that is my true heart is who I really am, and that's the loving thoughts that make me feel good. So I feel like I got something that for years I never understood. So thank you. And I just loved everything that you said.
Thank you. Thank you, Melanie. You know, it's interesting because I've been a reader in the past for the weekly gathering, and I've had the opportunity to ask 3 people to read for me. And every single time, whether I was the reader or someone else, it has been that that's exactly what I needed. That's exactly the message I needed, or that was really super helpful to me. I've never seen that. But that is that's what happens all the time. All the time that's happening around us, right? Life is just presenting exactly what we need. And I just think it's lovely to see it appear so obviously within our group. So, Connie, thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you this morning for your message. I too have been resistant to the concept of discipline, thinking that particularly in religious, spiritual vernacular that was a little forced and maybe not all my will. But I too am coming to the realization that, and thank you for your message, because that all it's really calling for is consistency. And I truly believe that consistency is where it's at, is what has the potential to take me home, to bring me to the enlightened state that we're all looking for. So I'm very grateful. Thank you. Thank you very much for today's message.
Thank you, Connie, for sharing that. Okay, thanks, Stan.
Okay. When I was in Indiana, playing golf with my friends, I had opportunity. I needed to get a sweatshirt. I was kind of cold for a little while, and I got into it. I went into a place where I could buy something, and they were all secondhand things. But this one sweatshirt was not. It was like brand new, never touched. And I don't know if you can read this because it might show backwards on the thing, but it says actually obey. And that's why nobody bought it. And I thought, well, there you go. That's perfect for me because it's like, obey what? Well, it's obeying or wisdom. To me, I thought I might even take some bleach and write that in underneath. But I loved your homily, and I was in that Sangha retreat with you, and I really enjoyed your presence. And yeah, I'm just so grateful for awakening together. And I've been wearing the sweatshirt around here in Mexico that says AT on it, and I know what it means. So yeah, thanks again.
Thank you, Dan. Beautiful. I love that. I probably need to get a sweatshirt too. And Melissa, were you able to? Oh, okay. Okay. Well, there is fellowship at 11:30. Yes. So anyone, you might come back, Melissa, if you can get it working, and be able to share. Still have the opportunity. Rhoda.
Figure since we have a few minutes left, I was sitting here with the word obedience and feeling the stickiness of that as I heard you say it. And then of course Dan has a sweatshirt that says obey. I love that. When I went to look up the definition too, it said something to the effect of consistently following something someone or something in authority. And that still felt like ick, like there's an ick. I don't know what the ick is. And as I was sitting listening, I heard like the curiosity that comes when I don't resist the idea that I don't know. And the sense that obeying is basically saying, I don't know. It's just like I heard you say, you've made a commitment to, putting your life into your spiritual practice, into awakening together, into the Sangha. And all that is, I'm feeling now, that's all that's being asked when obedience is being asked, is to just remember that that stickiness is the idea that I think I know. That's what that is. So thank you, Melody, for bringing that up, because that really said something clear to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhoda. Yeah, that's a beautiful insight. Thank you. Good, wonderful clarity. All right. Well, we are at the bottom of the hour at 11:30, and I think it's time for me to pass the mic. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. Thank you, Marisol, for all your hard work in getting this weekly gathering coordinated and troubleshooting this morning behind the scenes. And thanks, everyone. Thanks again for Melanie's reading, and bless us, bless you all. So grateful for you. Have a lovely Sunday.
You've been watching our online gathering. It happens weekly on Sundays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. To join us live in the sanctuary, visit our website, awakening-together.org. You'll want to click on Online Sanctuary in the main menu, and then in the drop-down menu, look for How to Enter the Sanctuary. Right there at the top of the page is a clickable link. We'd love to see you in the sanctuary and join with you in fellowship. Thank you again for watching. Also, please know that if you'd like to stay connected via the Awakening Together channel here on YouTube, you can subscribe and hit the bell for more notifications. We hope to see you in the sanctuary.